All right, welcome back. You're watching Rob Schmitt Tonight. 5 California police officers filed a lawsuit late last week against the city of Palo Alto in California, a liberal bastion, of course, for wealthy hypocrites, home to many of the Silicon Valley big tech companies, as you know. The cops are suing over this image of Joanne Chesimard, who's also known as Assata Shakur, seen depicted in this BLM mural that was sanctioned by the city last July. For those unfamiliar, this woman was convicted of murdering a cop after initiating a gunfight with New Jersey state troopers in May of 1973. She's a bit of a hero to the far-left wackos of the world. Shakur shot and killed 34-year-old trooper Werner Forrester. And somehow this gets celebrated. There's Werner there on the left. And a terrible story. She's still on the FBI's most wanted list, living in asylum in Cuba. The mural, by the way, was actually in front of a police building, if you can believe that. We're joined now by retired Police Sergeant Betsy Schmitt, spokesperson for the National Police Association, which is supporting the 5 officers filing this lawsuit. Betsy, thank you so much for joining us.
Rob, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Of course. How on earth does a mural like this pass inspection by these fools in Palo Alto?
Well, and remember, we were talking about this a year ago. In fact, I actually offered to debate the artist and explain to the artist why the Assata Shakur's image was so hurtful to law enforcement. She murdered a 34-year-old state trooper who left behind a wife and a 3-year-old son. She was convicted of that murder. And she, remember, she was part of the Black Liberation Army. She's said to be kind of the mother of the whole organization. Mm-hmm. She was involved in bank robberies. And the Black Liberation Army is responsible for at least 13 other murders of American law enforcement officers. So for those police officers to have to walk by her face every day when they're trying to do their jobs and trying to keep the citizens of Palo Alto safe, the National Police Association, we thought it was just absolutely absurd. And we don't object to Black Lives Matter murals. Many cities have them. This is the one mural that we thought we needed to get involved in because it was so offensive and hurtful to those law enforcement officers in Palo Alto who had nothing to do with any of the issues that these activist artists wanted to talk about.
It is. I mean, you put it very well. It's so sad to see, though. I mean, it's sad to see how it's become so mainstream to just kind of hate cops, and to just kind of blame them for everything. I mean, the foolishness of it, and to see it be spewed out from mainstream places and pushing this absolute lie, like our communities are going to be better. I mean, if we gave you guys all a week off, I mean, the bloodbath that would ensue would just be unbelievable. And there are people in this country, mainstream people in this country, that seem to want to fan the idea that if you took away the cops, these communities would heal. It's ridiculous.
Well, absolutely, Rob. We're already seeing, in fact, President Biden had a meeting at the White House today to talk about why crime is so on the rise, violent crime. And I was reading some of the media reports, and they said, we just can't really figure out what's going on. We'll tell you what's going on. You cannot vilify police and force us to retire or go to areas where we're going to be more appreciated. You can't take away all of the resources that we have to be able to do our jobs and then hope that the criminals decide, oh, I don't think I'll commit violent crime. And so there's where we're at. The vilification of law enforcement, along with the deprosecution of people in areas like L.A. and Cook County, New York, places like that, that's what's leading to this huge spike in violent crime. And yet you still have, especially far left-wing politicians who say, you know what, let's get rid of the cops because they're the problem. We're not the problem.
It's amazing. I mean, you see it. It fascinates me, honestly, because, again, it's kind of like we were just talking about in the last block. Like, they can't admit that they're wrong. They can't admit that what they believe is not right. So they're sitting there smashing their head against the wall and asking why their head hurts. It's like, well, I'll tell you why your head hurts. You keep smashing against that wall, and they just refuse to listen. It's a lesson in idiocy is what it is. Thank you so much, retired Sergeant Betsy Schmitt. Thanks for coming on. Good to talk to you.
Thanks, Rob.
All right.